Hey, I'm back. There's a few more of you here than usual. You want to see some demos? The Steam Next Fest is here, with a new selection of demos for everyone to try out. There's also been a few of these being released at the Not E3 shows, so I played a few before the festival even began. No guarantee any demo will stay up after the festival is over, as usual. But let's get started on the first game that caught my eye. Garde is a swashbuckling action game made and published by Fireplace Games. You control Adalia de Volador. I think I said that right. Daring sword fighter and thorn to the dreaded Count Duke's side, and it's up to you to cut through his men and become a hero to the people. This game is almost all combat. There's some mild platforming connecting things, but the fights are why you're here. And thank God that it's actually incredibly cool. The game's theatrical Spanish duelist flair is translated into gameplay perfectly. I don't think I've played a game that made me feel like I was the main character in an adventure film before. You start off with a simple combo attack, which destroys basic enemies pretty easily. Then you must learn to parry and riposte, the more skilled guards in the Count Duke's pockets. Then we mix things up with multiple people at once. These brutes are out to get you, and won't attack you one at a time like an honourable duelist, so it's up to you to even the playing field by using your environment. Introducing the kick. You can kick boxes at enemies, kick enemies off ledges, into water, into walls, into objects that'll incapacitate them, throw buckets on their head to blind them, kick a load of barrels at them and watch everyone tumble down the stairs, and there's more! Playing the arena mode after finishing the story is an absolute must. It's great fun, and it really flexes just how versatile the combat system is. It feels like there's genuinely no end of tricks that you can pull off. There is a rhythm to all of this that if you step out of, you might find yourself backed into a corner, but you can turn the tables at the drop of a hat, either through skill or creativity. The game also just pops with a cathartic fun energy that's represented in both its gameplay and also in its world and characters.
Adaria, Marita, get up! A handsomely mysterious masked gentleman has run off with your sword!
Really? Where did he go? I'll catch up to him.
No, he was too agile and, so acrobatic.
It's charming. Like the game is having as much fun telling its story as you are playing it.
So, this must be another trial, see?
Go on, I'm being paid handsomely to do this.
Don't you people have anything better to do?
You bet. This is easy money. Oh, I lost the bet.
Sorry to hear that.
Genuinely a fantastic time and well worth checking out. Garde is out August 2023, and I cannot praise it enough. It's like God Hand and Dark Messiah had a baby that became a fan of Zorro, and if that's not cool, then I don't know what is. Rise of the Triad is a fast-paced FPS made by Apogee Entertainment in 1994. Now finally remastered in the Ludicrous edition made by Night Dive and published by New Blood and Apogee Entertainment. Now, I love my boomer shooters, enough to still like using that term, but Rise of the Triad is one that's actually passed me by, because running it on modern hardware has been a bit more of a challenge compared to your Dooms and Duke Nukems. So a remaster of the game, bringing things widescreen, 4K resolutions, and polishing up the whole thing, is very welcome. In the game you play as one of 5 members of Hunt, and you've been sent to a mysterious island to investigate cult activity. You do so like this. Fantastic. Rise of the Triad is a fast game. You have your pistol, your pistols, and your machine gun. But what you're really here for is the smorgasbord of rocket launchers at your disposal. You can only hold one of them at a time, but they come in so many different flavors and operate so differently that it feels like a tactical choice to select which weapon of destruction to go with. There's secrets to find by slamming into walls, maybe containing weird new weapons, pickups, points, or power-ups to change how you play. And it does all this stuff at a frenetic pace, even by the standards of other boomer shooters. It's really cool. The remaster itself seems good too, though I will leave its particulars to more experienced eyes than mine. I love that it comes with a lot of customization options for your experience, including the option of the soundtrack to the 2013 reboot of Rise of the Triad. The 2013 soundtrack was done by Andrew Hulshult, and yeah, it rocks. But don't neglect the original MIDIs by Bobby Prince and Lee Jackson, because they exude cool vibes that are frankly not found in games anymore. I'm happy we're given the option here. Maybe I'll do the rock for one level set, and the MIDIs for another. This also comes with all the episodes and expansions for the original game, plus an entirely new episode. And more goodies besides. This is great. Rise of the Triad Ludicrous Edition is out in July. The whole package is a no-brainer. Because the brains are splattered across the walls. Jusant, I think I'm saying that right too, is a climbing game, I guess. Made and published by Don't Nod Entertainment. Yeah, the Life is Strange people. Can't get away from them.
How do you do, my fellow kids?
I have to warn you that you're going to see some kind of rough performance for parts of this section, but we can talk more about that a little later on. Let's set things up first. In Jusant, you control a young boy who seeks to climb a mountain. I don't really know why, or what your name is even, but you do. You also kind of look like Daniel in Life is Strange 2. You're joined by a little companion who's apparently made of water. I don't know anything about them either. Look, who cares about context? The mountain exists, therefore I must climb it. In most other games, climbing is seen as just a minor traversal mechanic. Games like Uncharted have it in a very easy to approach form, but it is at least possible to mess it up. Recently though, there's been a glut of games that have climbing and platforming, but it's impossible to actually fail it. It basically feels no different to walking, except I'm being slowed down by having to engage with these painted handholds. I don't care if it's for loading or positioning the player in a specific way, it feels like such a drag. I was worried Jusant would be that too, like a walking simulator that just has you going vertical, but no. Climbing feels like an actual organic gameplay mechanic. They made climbing in this feel actually really cool and satisfying to pull off, which is great because I love bouldering in real life, and this captures the same feeling as making your way up the wall. You don't move up a wall by simply pushing the stick. You alternate pressing the triggers on the controller to release your grip with each hand and move to the next hold. This took a few minutes to adjust to, but it felt quite intuitive after a while. Sometimes you need to swap your hands over on a hold so you can reach out in a certain direction. There's a stamina meter, but you can take a break in the middle of your climb to regain the feeling in your hands. You can also jump and scramble up a cliff to get up higher, including what's essentially a double jump. But there's also your handy rope and anchor system. You attach yourself to pivot points when climbing for safety, including placing new anchors when you're already up and over. This means if you're unsure about a tricky maneuver, you can basically put a checkpoint down on your climb and lose no progress if you end up falling. Ropes can also be used to abseil, to swing off walls or in the air, and it all feels controlled by you. It's so versatile, and it makes the environment feel like a puzzle that has to be solved using your toolset. On top of that, the game has great visuals, and the soundtrack is incredibly relaxing. It creates a perfect meditative vibe that I'm really into. Honestly, this game would be a highlight of the whole festival for me, if it wasn't for the performance. This game should not be running this badly. Lowering the resolution or changing other settings did nothing to help. So, it's the dreaded shader stutter, right? Maybe. It certainly felt worse when I was seeing new areas, but see, when I first tried to play it, the performance was so bad I gave up on the game completely, before I'd even gotten through the tutorial. But a day later I thought, I'll give it another try. Suddenly the game was running great, and I ended up having a wonderful time with it. I move about halfway through the demo, exploring all kinds of new places, and then the game crashes. Oh well. I'll reload, and now the game is running terribly again. I could not fix it this time. I was stuck with it. I played through the rest of the demo with the shaky performance, but it was undeniably having an impact on me enjoying it, and harshing the calm vibes that it was going for. I checked the Steam forums and people were reporting similar problems, but also less severe issues, some even no problems at all. It doesn't make sense, and it's a shame that it dampens what could be a really cool game. The store page promises more mechanics and locations to jazz up the full release, so I hope, genuinely, these issues get ironed out before it begins its ascent later this year. Also, I promise not to put silly voices on the characters.
Oh god, I'm here again!
Viewfinder is a photo-based puzzle game by Sad Owl Studios and Thunderful Publishing. You might have seen some GIFs and videos of this one floating around for a while. In the game, you're in a mysterious floating dream world, and you have the ability to take any photo in the world and make it real. It's a very impressive mechanic, and the game can even get weird with it. Okay, so it's flashy, but is there a game within these impressive vignettes? Yes, actually. The objective for each level is to reach a teleporter that will take you to the next one, so these photographs are to deal with obstacles or making entranceways through the environment. But you have to be careful, as these photographs are destructive to the existing environment, and you can end up deleting the teleporter you're trying to reach. Fortunately, there is a rewind mechanic that will let you go back to any place within the level if you feel you regret any of the choices you've made so far, which is very handy. As fun as this is, though, it's not until later in the demo that you see the star of the game, the viewfinder itself. Take a photo of anything and replace it in the world. Space is now like a tamed animal. Battery too high? Take a photo and take that one instead. Need more batteries? Copy your copy. And we've made infinite energy. It's simple, though you are limited in how many photos you can take, something that will probably be more of a problem in the full release. The whole premise has huge potential, and I hope it'll manage to take full advantage of its photographic gimmick when the game comes out in July. Jumplight Odyssey is a starship management sim made by League of Geeks. In this game, you are fleeing an all-conquering galactic threat who does not believe in negotiation. It's up to you, the royal princess turned captain, to guide your people to safety with the promise of somewhere called the Forever Star as your salvation. The premise smacks a lot of FTL, and when you see the timer for the encroaching threat prowling across the galactic map, it feels like it's practically beating you with its FTL influence. But it's in execution where things differ, and differ greatly. FTL was small and intimate, you and enough crewmates that you could count on your fingers and toes, whereas in Jumplight Odyssey, you're piloting the space equivalent of an aircraft carrier, and filled to the brim with people. And it's more about caring for everyone aboard and making a smooth operation across the stars, rather than failing at the combat again. The whole thing has an air of something like Theme Hospital, where you've got to make sure staff members are assigned to their roles and have enough resources to keep doing what they're doing, and making sure everyone is in good enough shape to work or even survive. There's a lot of mechanics in the game, and the demo didn't showcase all of them. I built a robot charging station, which gave me a free robot, but I didn't really know why I was doing that. I don't know, I just wanted a friend. But I did get to see some of the variety the setting gets to inject into the game. For a start, you can make away teams to send off on missions, ranging from salvage, resource gathering, and answering distress signals to get new crew. These missions change depending on which star system you're in, which means you may have to plot your route forward based on what you really need right now. Who you take on the mission can affect a few different factors too, like how damaged your shuttle might get, how much rewards can be reaped, and that's separate from the chance of the mission actually succeeding. So you really have to think quite carefully. Looking after your ship is a matter of making sure each compartment is in good shape, has power, and has oxygen. You can build and expand rooms, but make sure you have the facilities to support what you're building, and the crew members to perform the duty besides. And amidst all the juggling that you have to do, you need to be building up power to jump to the next system, because you do not have much time before the kill squads arrive. At the end, I ended up with an ambitious jump that was a little too close for comfort, but I pulled through in the end. I'd be curious how this one turns out, because these kinds of games can really get into the brain and become hard to put down, and Jumplight Odyssey seems to be emulating that perfectly. There's no release date, but here's hoping it arrives to its destination okay. TOBOR is a spying simulator game made and published by Kogu. We play as the titular TOBOR, who is tasked with spying on a strange place called the Undercroft, and all residents inside with hidden cameras and monitoring their conversations. You took this job after their previous worker exploded. Actually, you were just sort of thrown into it because you're a robot, and that's just your job, I guess. When I heard the premise was for a dark, kind of spooky game where you watch people with cameras, my first thought was Five Nights at Freddy's. But actually, no, it's not. I'd say it's more like Papers, Please, as you try to work out how best to do your job for the company, but you also keep getting messages from other sources, and you know, when a company introduces all these rules to me, I do wonder which ones ought to be broken. The game also takes something of a Danganronpa edge to its world and characters, if Danganronpa had been drawn by Tim Burton anyway. It's weird, creepy. Just looking at some of these people feels off-putting, and maybe that's good because you're going to be looking at them a lot. Peering on these people completely unaware of your existence and listening in on what they say, trying to piece together what this world is and what's been happening in it, is genuinely enthralling, even if you're not entirely sure why you're doing this, which, that sounds like a lot of jobs I've had, honestly. Whether this is espionage or just voyeurism, I don't know, but I do know that the game is dripping in rich detail. Whether it's from your environment or any of your subjects, targets, marks, what on earth would you call them? You choose which person you want to follow at the start of your day, and then it's up to you to actively chase them. But the whole day has all the cameras open to you, so you can see everyone else getting on with their day as they go. You don't have to look into them, and you won't even be rewarded for tapping their conversations, but it helps make the whole place feel alive. After the day is done, you have to make a report, which is when the game basically grades you on if you've been collecting all the information needed in a day. On the first day I was able to draw many conclusions and got an A+, but on the second I only got a B. I don't know if certain characters would be easier to follow, but I think this game will sport multiple paths, and the fact you're recommended to only follow one character at a time makes me feel that this is a game we're meant to replay to see the full picture. The whole game will apparently take place over 7 days, and this demo covers the first 2. Took me less than an hour to clear that, so replaying the game for a full experience would make sense. It even asked me to make a big choice before it ended, so that's neat. TOBOR is utterly fascinating. A shockingly original feeling wonder that I'm desperate to know more about. I think out of everything here, absolutely do not sleep on this game. I mean, definitely don't sleep, because you dream at night, and when you dream you will... Have you ever played KOTOR 2? No, nor KOTOR 1. I've always been meaning to get to them, but that describes a lot of my backlog. Do you play any board games or tabletop games, and would you make a video on them? I play board games once in a while, but I play D&D with some friends once or twice a week. I'd be open to making a video on tabletop stuff, or any subject really, but it'd have to be like the right subject for me. Which games do you keep finding yourself going back to years later? A few. I keep Left 4 Dead 2 constantly installed in case the urge to play it comes back. I also seem to gravitate towards replaying The Last of Us every couple of years or so. Grounded mode can be really fun. Apart from that, God Hand. I'm due a replay of that soon, I can feel it. Would you consider releasing some of the ambient tracks you made yourself for the myhouse.wad video? Probably not, mostly because they're not proper music tracks, just disparate pieces of noise and drones that I arranged in the video as needed. I don't know much about music production, and you could make what I made yourself very, very easily by putting the Doom soundtrack into pull stretch. But I will take this opportunity to promote SL Fortium, who made the actual main ambient track for My House, which is really worth picking up. I'll put a link to their Bandcamp in the description. Their other work is really good too, and worth checking out. Thank you to everyone for supporting me. We're back in business, so I'll see you next time where we get back on track.